Today I'm going to talk about how to uncover real mental strength. Much has been written and spoken of when it comes to mental strength. There are many books on the subject, and it's often written about in terms of achieving tough physical mental challenges and having the mental strength to do it, being tough in the boardroom, having a strong mental attitude to go after dreams and desires in life. And of course, while this is all true, they pale into insignificance in the real potential we have in uncovering mental strength. And on my seminar called On the Warrior's Path, the very first day, we teach something called the courage of responsibility. It's the first and greatest courage. And it's taught on day one because we know it's the one thing that people find the most difficult. And that's taking complete ownership of their entire life, everything that's happened to them, everything that they've done from childhood onwards. And this is something very few people are willing to do. But it's the greatest area of personal potential of mental strength. So the courage of responsibility, this area that opens up this portal of expansive mental strength, is the most difficult one that people can undertake. It's a courage of the highest level and delivers real freedom of the mind, delivers real peace, and will lead you to your utmost potential as a human being. And it can be tough work. If you remove someone's blame, excuses, justification, and the lies they're telling themselves, all they're left with is themselves. And this can be very, very hard. So you take away someone's personal story. And these stories are used to not achieve things in life, to stay away of the things they want to do. They're used to justify why they behave a certain way. I know this because I did it as a young man for many years. From my own childhood, I avoided things, I hid behind my story, so I didn't have to look at the truth of who I really was and what I was doing. And to see yourself unfiltered behind your story, without any excuse or justification, does take courage, and it can be painful. But it's the only way to really develop true mental strength, lasting mental strength. So whenever I give talks, I often refer to my childhood because it's relevant to where I am now. And one of the things I talk about in front of an audience is how I took full responsibility for my life and my childhood, despite the fact that it was very stressful. There was some very taxing and challenging times due to the men in the family. And when I say this, taking responsibility, and even that I'm glad it happened, I get a smattering of hands in the audience. And I can see the confusion and often anger in their faces because they're resentful towards this, hearing this themselves. They're giving some resistance themselves to what they're hearing because they're just not ready for it, or they just don't understand it. And often the audience will say to me, a participant will say in the audience that, how can you take responsibility when you were just a child? You had no choice. It wasn't your fault. And of course this is true, but the truth is there is no other choice. Because if I keep blaming and handing all my excuses onto other people, I give them all the power and disempower myself. So if I take full responsibility from my childhood onwards, everything that's been done to me and what I've done to other people, I empower myself fully and disempower everybody else. Now that's how to live life. I have many clients that have been through terrible things, admittedly, and they are still blaming the people from the past that are no longer even alive, and yet they're still controlling their lives in the modern time, in the current experiences of their life, because they've never been able to move beyond experiences of the past. And that's not going to result in much of a life for anybody. They're never actually going to have a full experience of life. And this eventually will be a huge problem and cause massive resentment. And there is a worse option than this. And another option is to have life so safe and comfortable that you grow up fragile and expectant of everybody else. This is a worst case scenario because it's almost a disability, and that you cannot move, you cannot achieve, you cannot strive because you've never been through any challenges. I actually call this an underprivilege. I feel that my background was a privilege because it made me into what I am today. It's made me be able to help people today. And this is what you do with pain and suffering and hardships, is you create something with it. You don't sit in the experience of it and live it as a lifestyle, which is a choice. You create something with it. And this is something we can all decide to do. Without the courage of responsibility, we're left with blame, lies, excuses, justifications. And here's something to remember that's really, really important. Blame, lies, justification, and resentment cannot sit in the same room as courage, integrity, and compassion. They don't go together. So you have to choose one or the other. And you get to make that choice. And your whole life will reflect this back at you. And it's extremely powerful. You get to make the choice. It's also difficult because modern society doesn't want you to be resilient. It doesn't want you to have mental strength. Modern society wants you to be sedated, subdued, and weak. It's how it's now set up. Even our political leaders will not live the courage of responsibility. Quite the opposite. So you will not get permission or validation from anywhere. You have to make the choice. You have to make a decision to live this way. And it'll be a beautiful transformation, an astonishing transformation once you do this, because it's a way to discover real meaning. So the path to mental strength is no resistance. And this resistance we create entirely within ourselves by being attached to bad experiences in the past that we're still carrying around today. And that will stop anybody from achieving real mental strength. Most people live in a form of people-pleasing mode. It was, someone said recently, it was up to 98% of people live in a people-pleasing mode, looking for a reputation, for validation, trying to be liked. And all this will stop you discovering not only who you are, but developing the mental strength so you can live life to the full. So mental strength is about complete ownership of oneself. Complete ownership, self-sovereignty over the self. Okay? And there won't be any cues there. The cues are all on the blames and the justifications, excuses, the accusations. That's a big cue because it's easy and there's a big pull to go and join that queue. But there's no cues on the warrior's path of courage, mental strength, of responsibility, full responsibility. Take ownership of everything that's happened to you. Take ownership of it and life will be incredible. And you'll really contribute to the world in such a positive manner that you cannot even control how far the ripples of courage and mental strength can go throughout your entire life and to the people you know and to the people you meet and beyond that. So take your past pain and experiences and realize it is a portal to potential, massive potential. It's an untapped hidden treasure at the center of your experiences and suffering that's waiting to be discovered by you.